It is a pleasure to be back with you. I remain Roger, and we have a fantastic game for you to look at. It's the last game we're going to show live here, but good things come to those who wait. We're going to show you Natural Disaster, but before we talk about it, let's look at the trailer, and then the students can describe it to you. All right, now I know you want to know more about this game. So we have the developers of Natural Disaster with us. Why don't you introduce yourselves and tell us a bit about your game?
Hi, I'm Claire. I'm one of the designers.
I'm Gabby. I'm an engineer.
And I'm Brianne, a producer.
Now, before we get to your pitch of your game, Brianne, it looks like a disaster befell those glasses. You want to tell me about that?
Oh, they've been last all semester long, but right before, of course, they had to snap. It's a great way to end off the project, is to have my favorite butterfly glasses kaput. It's gone. That's a shame.
Well, I think it fits the theme of the game. Who wants to tell us a bit about this game?
Sure. So Natural Disaster is a point-and-click inspired puzzle game played in a ViewMaster where you sowed seeds of disaster via the butterfly effect. And if you don't know, the butterfly effect is the philosophical concept that the flapping of the wings of a butterfly on one side of the world can cause a tornado on the other side of the world. And the way that this interacts with our game is that we have 7 different scenes which you can switch through via the ViewMaster lever. And as the butterfly, you're going to go around doing really small interactions, and you're actually pretty evil. So the goal is to cause disasters in the lives of the characters that you see on screen, while chaining small effects across the different scenes in order to lead to those final chaotic disasters.
Oh, okay, so now I got some basic questions. I love them. I know what they are, but for our audience, what is a ViewMaster?
Sure. So ViewMaster is sort of an older concept. The official term is called a stereoscope. And it's sort of this device, this sort of like goggle contraption where you can slot in a image reel, and they're 2D images, but the way that it works is they overlap two images from slightly different perspectives. And so when you look through them, it actually comes out looking like a 3D image. And so you can see this in our game where we actually utilized a 3D space to sort of replicate this reaction, but then you get the fixed camera perspective and you get to explore the scene in full 3D depth.
Oh, that's awesome. So this is officially the first ViewMaster-based game that I've ever seen. It's definitely the first one from the University of Utah, so congratulations. That's a retro concept, this ViewMaster thing, and point-and-click adventures are kind of a retro-style gameplay. What motivated this sort of nostalgia, charming kind of aspect of the game?
Sure. The ViewMaster thing actually came first, and it just seemed like it made sense with how the image reel scrolls that these scenes need to sort of interact with each other. And so there were some different iterations of what we could possibly do with that. One of the potentials being a sort of like mystery where you can find clues in different scenes. But just the idea of the butterfly effect with where you can chain reactions together, it just really worked with the different scenes that we have.
Okay. So for our audience, you're that butterfly, right?
Yes.
And what are you doing?
You're going to fly around the scene and you're going to be looking for the different interaction points. And so those are sort of these small objects, because we're working with one of our design challenges was we wanted to work with a semi-realistic butterfly weight capacity, just as a sort of limitation for the player and also part of the challenge, in that you only get to interact with small pieces of the environment, whether that be a small sort of lightweight object or just a button somewhere, is that you're limited in that way, but then you get to see how those unfold into bigger disasters as the characters interact with what you do. So a lot of it is going to be searching around the scene and sort of organically figuring out how the interactions are going to relate to the characters that you're targeting.
All right, so you're this butterfly, and you're flying around, and you press some things or pick some things up, and then something happens here, like this flood that we just saw, but things happen in the other clips from the Viewmaster as well, the other images?
Yes, so usually you interact within one scene directly, and that often relates to a specific character that you're targeting. And the character will react to what you did, and then they will leave the scene. So that's actually your cue as a player to then switch through the scenes and figure out where that character ended up. And that's going to culminate in them reacting to whatever you just did. So then you get to see how that reaction comes about, and then you get to interact with them again in order for them to leave and potentially go back to the scene you were just in or go into another one. And that's sort of where those chains happen.
All right. So I think everyone's got it. So maybe you could describe what's happening in this scene.
Yes, so this is...
Or flip it, sorry. Or that scene, or this scene, or that one.
Yes, just kind of showcasing the Viewmaster interaction here. I can pick one in particular. So we've got our theme park scene, which has some different pathways that interact with this. So usually the first one that players stumble upon is that there is a peanut stand vendor, and there's a free sample sign somewhere else in the scene. And as the butterfly, you get to pick up the free sample sign, and if you put it on the peanut stand, then that leads the characters in the scene to realize there are free peanuts, and then they go pick them up. And so a character will come and get some free peanuts, and then they'll leave the scene. And that actually leads to one of our other scenes where there is a character who is allergic to peanuts. And so if you figure out that connection there, you can drop a peanut in their bowl of chowder and cause an allergic reaction, which is the ultimate disaster for this character that we have here. So it's a lot of those sort of little things that start in one scene. And we really wanted to keep the interactions connected to the location that you're in. So most of what you'll see is related to sort of the environment that you're around, and also that the disasters, while they mostly relate to, like these big finales at the end of the pathways, they mostly relate to the character specifically that you're targeting. We have some narrative behind there. But also, most of them also culminate in destroying the scene location as a whole. And so with that theme park...
That shark just eat that dude?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. So we've got the water there, and there's a shark there. And the way with the theme park scene is you've got a Ferris wheel in the background, and there's something really interesting that happens with the Ferris wheel if you do the path that culminates there.
So this butterfly is low-key violent.
Oh, yeah.
Very.
Not low-key.
Not low-key.
Majorly
Directly
violent.
evil.
Yeah.
Majorly violent, right?
You can think of the scrapbook as a hit list, basically.
No!
Yes. Yes.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay, so you're the butterfly flying around. This makes perfect sense. So basically, this is like a traditional point-and-click adventure game where you're clicking something and that triggers something else. Like you need to find the key to unlock the door. You have to talk to the butler in order to find out where the key is, that kind of stuff. But on a more grandiose scale, because you're knocking things over, this looks really hard to make, I got to be honest. So like, what were some of the technical challenges you faced?
There were a good amount of technical challenges. One of the things that we focused the first little bit of development on was getting a solid base, making everything that's interactable easy to build off of. So when design came up with the pathways and the interactions, it was easy to implement and test and things like that. But then again, still adding things and still refining things all the way up until the last second. So
Yeah, the class actually has this thing where you're not allowed to add new features in the second semester, and y'all obeyed that rule, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, totally,
No.
Totally.
we were pretty close. Honestly, I pushed for it. We were pretty close.
Pretty close to no new features, huh?
Yep.
We actually were mostly feature complete
Yes.
back in October. We actually ended pretty early in comparison to the semester. It's just as playtesting happened, we saw things come up over and over that kind of needed new features in order to sort of patch some problems we were having.
And one of the major things that we were focusing on this semester was actually doing a lot of the machinima work, doing a lot of the animations, making the scenes look really, really pretty. Because that was, as you can kind of see here, there's lots of art assets, just so many.
So many. Hey, so for our friends at home, what's machinima?
Yeah, so machinima, basically when you're looking at the scene, you can see all of the characters when you interact with them within the sequence. They will play an animation that kind of matches what you do in the scene. So we give, just beforehand, we gave Darius a set of car keys. He shows the car keys, and then he drunkenly walks off set. So just a bunch of individual animations that our animators created, and then just kind of bridged those together.
And I love that you've taken this this machinima concept, and you even had a machinima team, didn't you?
Yes,
Like a sub-team?
yes, we did.
I think that was really clever, by the way, and it really shows in the game. Lots of fun animations. And so speaking of the art of the game, talk to me about the art direction. Like, how did we get to this style of these cute little people and this butterfly? And, like, these are the most adorable prisoners I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, one of the major things that we wanted to do is, since we wanted to have so many, like, larger scale destructions and grief and agony and pain, we wanted to make sure that it was, like, it's kind of cute, though. So,
Yeah.
we wanted to go, so they were kind of toy-like, they were kind of a little bit cute, so, when someone gets stabbed or someone drowns, it's based outside of reality, which makes it a little less serious.
Yeah.
We tried to stay pretty consistent related to kind of this cartoony style, especially with like all the art assets. It was quite interesting since we had about 10 artists or so.
Yeah, 10 artists.
Yeah, working on all sorts of stuff. So it was very fun to try to create a visual piece that was consistent or somewhat consistent throughout the whole way through.
How big was this team?
It was 29
Large.
people.
Yes.
29 students
The
on one
largest
team.
in Capstone, I believe. Not
Yeah.
just this year, but in Capstone history.
I think this might be a record break. Like, yeah, that could. You might be the first person to kill someone with a peanut in a game in Capstone, as well as the largest team ever. How hard was it to manage a team that big?
Very difficult.
So how'd you do it?
Yeah, so one of the things that we mainly focused on, especially since a lot of our team had specialized skill sets, is we couldn't entirely work on an agile model having feature teams for everything, especially since, if I have a 2D artist that's really good at making 2D art, I don't want to have them make 3D art, what we would have had to do to be strictly to that agile setup. The way we got around it is we kind of had a waterfall agile hybrid where we were department based, but then we would split off into features depending on what the game needed. So, if the game needed, the sticker books, we had a sticker book team, and if we needed machinima, we had a machinima based team.
Oh, excellent, excellent.
And something bigger team as well that is different from smaller teams, I think, is that in a smaller team, you're usually wearing multiple hats, is that you often have different skill sets in other elements of design, and as needed, you sort of pick up those tasks. But since we had 30 people, we had enough to pretty much cover everything, and so it meant that everyone was pretty divided in what they were working on equally, which I think worked out really well.
Awesome. So the environments in this game are just delicious, and like even the way that Ferris wheel rolls and speeds up, right? Like it getting faster and it accelerating adds so much charm, right? Oh, did you do that?
That sequence took me hours. Hours.
So it took you hours to get that one giant Ferris wheel to roll,
Yes. Yep.
and to make it look compelling.
Yes.
That's
yeah.
the hard part, isn't it? Awesome.
I went through so many iterations to say, okay, this looks real, but it also looks dangerous.
Yeah, yeah. And those of you who are future game developers, that's what game development is like, right? How do we make this Ferris wheel, spend a couple days on it, roll in a interesting but dangerous way, right?
Yeah.
All right, we've got about a minute left, and what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to tell people where they can get this game and where they can support you.
Yeah, so you can actually find this game on Steam. So it's Natural Disaster, a Butterfly's Guide to Mass Destruction. You can find all of our socials at burningreelstudios.com. Find us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We're everywhere. So you can find us all there. And please play the game. Please review it. Please enjoy it at your heart's content. There's cosmetics, so skins and hats.
And trails.
And trails.
Yes.
Trails exist too. Gotta
Customize
have
your butterfly.
cosmetics.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what was the website again?
Yeah, it's burningreelstudio.com.
BurningRealStudio.com. Okay, great. So, and then you can download this game. Oddly enough, you can also still wishlist it even if you download it, and that helps the game get discovered by people. So we really encourage you to do that. Support student games. Download this game. These are people who are all going on to wonderful careers, and you can talk about, oh, I remember that student game that they made. So go out there and play Natural Disaster. Thank you all so much for being here. It was an honor and a privilege to be with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.